Today we're checking out the Mammoth Tubular Front Upper Control Arms for the 2 to 4 inch lift on the 2004 and newer F-150s, but excluding the Raptor. If you've raised your truck, upgraded the wheels or the tires, or you just want to restore that factory geometry after a lift, these arms give you a strong and direct fit that are definitely worth checking out. The biggest feature here is going to be that restored suspension geometry. After you lift your truck from 2 to 4 inches, the factory upper control arms often end up angled very poorly, leading to premature wear, poor tire wear, and imprecise steering. These Mammoth arms are built with that in mind, and they correct that angle of your suspension geometry so you're not going to be burning through tires like you were before. They're tubular steel, they're sized to support the altered angles and maintain better alignment even with a 2 to 4 inch lift. When it comes to the construction on these arms are fabricated from high-strength tubular steel instead of thinner stamped pieces that you see in stock and budget pieces. This gives you increased rigidity and durability under heavier loads or rough conditions. The black powder coat resists rust and road salt corrosion, which is important for longer-term use. The welds are super clean and the bushings are designed to mount very snugly, and the overall assembly is built specifically for the truck and the lift range from 2 to 4 inches. So you're not guessing if it's gonna fit right or not, and you're not gonna deal with any weird clearance issues. Now, as far as the pricing goes on this, it's coming in right in that $300 price range for the pair. That is a solid value when you consider that you're replacing a critical suspension component with a heavy-duty aftermarket version designed for your lifted truck. When it comes to the install on this one, it's gonna get rated a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and you can get this job done in about 3 hours of your time. Now let's head on out to the shop and we're gonna give you a detailed walkthrough of exactly how this install process goes.
For this install, you're gonna need an impact, various ratchets, a 21mm, 18 and 16mm wrench, an 8mm, 10mm, 18, 19, short 21, long 21, and long 22 socket, a swivel extension, a clip removal tool, a grease gun, a hammer, a bungee cord, a caliper hanger, and a pry bar. Today we're going to be installing upper control arms on our 2016 F-150. Let's get into it. So first things first, we're going to take our ratchet with our 10mm on it, and we're going to loosen our brake line right here, and then we're going to go in and loosen the ABS line with an 8mm socket. So that was the 10mm for our brake line, and then I'm going to go in there with my 8mm socket and loosen the ABS line because we want to make sure those are out of the way. Once you're done, you just want to tuck them out of the way, like so. Come on. Next up, we're going to be removing the clips for our ABS line and brake line. Next, we're going to be taking the brake caliper off of the car. You're going to have 2 21mm bolts at the back. That's where you're going to want to bring your ratchet and your 21mm socket. Now once you have your caliper off, you're going to want to pull it. You might have to fight with it a little bit off of the car. You're going to take your caliper hanger and hang it up on the frame. After you remove your caliper, we're going to remove the rotor and set that aside. Now we're going to take off our outer tie rod end with a 21mm socket and our impact. Now one thing I would like to note is when you're loosening this, you do not want to loosen it all the way. You want to make sure that there are still some threads left with this bolt, and you'll see why. Like so. So what you guys might run into with this, and the reason why I mentioned that you want to leave this a little bit loose, is sometimes, or most of the time, the outer tie rod end will be stuck in here and you're going to have to beat it off really hard with a hammer. Now, in this case, it's already loose, so since we don't have to beat it with a hammer, we're just going to take the bolt off all the way, remove the tie rod off like that. Next, we're going to be taking off our upper ball joint, and we're going to be using our 21mm socket with an extension, a swivel extension on the end. Now, along with this, I do recommend loosening the bolt, not all the way, just towards the bottom, so there's a couple threads, just in case we have to beat this one off. Now, before we get this upper ball joint off of the knuckle, I would recommend taking a bungee cord, wrapping it around this, and hooking it to the frame, just so this thing's not falling all over out of the place and we can kind of predict where it's gonna go. Like so. Now that we've gotten our upper ball joint separated from the knuckle, you're gonna wanna loosen your bolt like this. By hand, lift it up. Might be a little bit tough, and push it out of the way like that. Next, we're gonna take our 18mm socket on an impact and loosen our lower two strut bolts. Next, we're gonna take our 18mm socket on our impact and we're gonna loosen the sway link. There's a 18mm bolt right there. Next, we're gonna take our 16mm ratcheting wrench and we're gonna loosen our 3 strut top bolts. Now, before we remove the strut, I do want to note that there are 3 washers on the top. I recommend taking a clip removal tool to lift these up, because I found that it's kind of hard to remove them without it. Next, we're gonna take a pry bar, and what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna pry at the bottom of the strut so that the studs clear the lower control arm. And while we're prying on this, you're gonna wanna make sure that you have a firm grip on the strut so it doesn't come flying out at you. Like so. Next, you're gonna take an 18mm wrench and a 21mm wrench, and we're gonna remove this bolt on the upper control arm. After you're done with that, you can repeat the same process on the other side. Now, after you have all your bolts loose, we're gonna remove it, like so. Now, once you've uninstalled this side, you can go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. First thing we're gonna wanna do is install our upper control arm, and we're gonna reuse the old hardware. Next, we're gonna take our 21mm wrench and our 18mm wrench and snug the bolts down. Next, we're going to install our strut with a pry bar. Next, we're going to install our washers and our nuts on top of the strut. Next, we're going to start threading our nuts onto the lower part of the strut and the sway bar link. Next, we're going to take our 18mm socket and our impact and tighten those nuts down. Next, we're going to install the upper ball joint on top of the knuckle, but before we do that, we have to loosen the bungee cord. Once we have that done, then we can go ahead and start threading our nut onto the upper ball joint. Next, you're going to take a 19mm socket on a swivel extension and an impact and tighten down this nut. Next, we're going to take our 21mm socket with our impact and tighten down the tie rod end. Next, we're going to be reinstalling the rotor onto the truck, and once we have done so, I like to take a little lug nut and thread it onto one of the studs so that it makes it easier to put the caliper back on. Next, we're going to take our 21mm socket and our ratchet and install the caliper back onto the truck. Now we're going to take our 10mm socket and our ratchet and reinstall the bracket for the brake hose. Then we're going to get our 8mm socket and our ratchet and install the ABS line bracket. Now we're going to reinstall our clips for the brake hose and the ABS wire. Now I'm going to take my grease gun and fill up the upper ball joint with grease since it does not come greased out of the box. I normally like to do 2 to 3 pumps. After you have done that, you can do the same thing on the other side. And that's going to be it for the install of the Mammoth Tubular Front Upper Control Arms for a 2 to 4 inch lift for an 04 to 25 F-150 excluding the Raptor. Thanks again for watching, and remember, for all things F-150, visit AmericanTrucks.com.